Dr. Kim Tae-ho pressed his face against the cold metal window of Gamma Station. Outside, the massive creature floated in space like a living mountain. Its thick gray skin was covered in strange patterns that glowed with soft blue light. The creature was bigger than most cities back on Earth. The research team called it Elder because it seemed older and wiser than the other space creatures they had seen. Tae-ho smiled as he watched his 5-year-old daughter Hana run up to the window beside.
Tim.
Her small hands pressed against the glass as she looked out at Elder with wide eyes full of wonder. "Daddy, why does the big mammoth stay so close to our station?" Hana asked in her sweet voice. Tae-ho knelt down next to his daughter and pointed at Elder. "I think he likes us, little one. He has been watching over our station for 3 months now. Maybe he knows we are friends." "Can we talk to him?" Hana asked. "Your mother and I are working on that," Tae-ho said. "Dr. Park Sora, you're brilliant. Mother thinks we can build a machine to speak with Elder and his family." Hana giggled and pressed her nose against the window. Elder seemed to notice her and slowly moved one of his massive fins. It looked like he was waving at the little girl. Gamma Station was the most distant human outpost in known space. Only 43 people lived and worked there. They were scientists, engineers, and a small group of soldiers who protected them. The station studied the void mammoths, the giant creatures that lived in deep space and fed on starlight and cosmic dust. Tae-ho was the lead scientist studying how these creatures lived and communicated. His wife Sora designed the systems that kept the station running and safe. They had come to Gamma Station to make history by being the first humans to truly understand an alien species. The work was dangerous but exciting. The void mammoths were peaceful, but they were so large that even a friendly gesture could damage the station. Elder and his herd had to be very careful when they came close. Over the months, Tae-ho had learned that Elder was special. The massive creature seemed to understand human emotions. When the station had problems, Elder would position himself between the station and any danger. When the research team felt sad or scared, Elder would sing deep songs that somehow made everyone feel better. "Dr. Kim," called a voice from behind him. Tae-ho turned to see Lieutenant Kang Junwoo, the head of station security, walking toward them quickly. The young soldier looked worried. "What is wrong, Lieutenant?" Tae-ho asked, picking up Hana and holding her close. "Sir, we are picking up unknown ships on our long-range sensors. They are moving fast toward our position. Colonel Park wants all civilians in the safe rooms immediately." Tae-ho felt his heart begin to beat faster. Unknown ships this far from human space could only mean one thing. Raiders or worse. "How many ships?" Tae-ho asked as he carried Hana toward the station center. "At least 20, sir. Maybe more. They will be here in less than 2 hours. Tae-ho found his wife Sora in the main control room. She was working frantically at her computer station, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Her face was pale with worry. "Sora, what do we know?" Tae-ho asked. Sora looked up at him with fear in her eyes. "The ships are Keith Empire vessels. Intelligence reports say they have been raiding human settlements in this sector. They take prisoners, especially children." Tae-ho felt cold fear fill his chest. The Keth Empire was known throughout human space as one of the most dangerous alien civilizations. They were warriors and scientists who captured other species for terrible experiments. "What are our options?" Tae-ho asked. Colonel Park Hyun-sik, the station commander, stepped forward. "We have 6 defense fighters and 40 soldiers. Against 20 Keth warships, we cannot win a straight fight. Our only hope is to send a distress signal and hold out until help arrives." "How long until help can reach us?" Sora asked. 3 days minimum," the colonel said. "We need to evacuate the civilians." Tae-ho looked at his wife and daughter. Hana was playing with a small toy, not understanding the danger they were in. His heart broke thinking about what the Keth might do to her if they were captured. "There is one escape pod ready," Lieutenant Kang said. "It has stealth technology. 1 adult and 1 child could make it past the Keth ships." Tae-ho and Sora looked at each other. Both of them knew what had to happen, but neither wanted to say it. "I will take Hana," Sora said quietly. "No, Teho said firmly. You are the only one who can keep the station's shields working. Without you, everyone dies in the first attack. I will send Hana alone. She is only 5 years old, Sora said with tears in her eyes. The pod has an autopilot. It will take her to the nearest human world. She will be safe. As they argued, alarms began to sound throughout the station. Red lights flashed and a computer voice announced, "Unknown vessels approaching, all personnel to battle stations." Outside the station, Elder and his herd seemed to sense the danger. The massive creatures began to move in formation around Gamma Station, positioning themselves like a protective wall. The Mammoths know something is wrong, Teho said, watching Elder through the window. Sir, the Keth ships are dropping out of hyperspace, Lieutenant Kang reported. 24 vessels. They are demanding our surrender. Colonel Park activated the station's communication system. This is Gamma Station. We will not surrender. Leave this system immediately. The response came quickly in the harsh, clicking language of the Keth, translated by the computer. Human colony, you will surrender all personnel for processing. Resistance will result in destruction. You have 10 minutes to comply. Teho ran to the escape pod bay with Hana in his arms. Sora was already there, tears streaming down her face as she prepared the small vessel. Hana, you are going on a special trip, Teho said, trying to keep his voice calm. The pod will take you somewhere safe. Mommy and Daddy will find you, soon. I do not want to go without you, Hana said, starting to cry. You have to be brave, little star, Sora said, kissing her daughter's forehead. Remember that we love you more than all the stars in the sky. As they strapped Hana into the escape pod, explosions began to rock the station. The Keth attack had begun. Go now, Colonel Park shouted over the noise. The pod bay will be targeted soon. Teho kissed his daughter one last time. Remember us, Hana, and remember that humans never give up. The escape pod launched just as Keth fighters swarmed around the station. Elder and his herd tried to protect the small vessel, their massive bodies blocking enemy fire. The pod disappeared into the darkness of space, its stealth systems hiding it from Keth sensors. Inside the station, Teho ran toward his laboratory. He had one last desperate plan that might help his daughter and humanity survive what was coming. Teho ran through the burning corridors of Gamma Station as explosions shook the walls around him. Smoke filled the air and emergency lights flashed red. He could hear the sound of Keth soldiers breaking through the outer doors. In his laboratory, Teho worked frantically at his computer. His hands shook as he typed commands into the quantum transmitter, a machine he had built to study how the void mammoths communicated with each other. Computer begin consciousness transfer protocol, Teho said. Warning, this procedure is experimental and dangerous, the computer replied. Override safety protocols. Authorization, Teho Alpha 7. The machine hummed to life. Teho placed a small crystal into the device. This crystal was made from the same material that grew inside void mammoth brains, the part that let them think and remember. Begin transfer, Teho said. Pain shot through his head as the machine scanned his brain. All of his memories, his thoughts, his love for his family began to flow into the crystal. The process was meant to take hours, but Teho had no time. He pushed the machine to work faster, even though it might kill him. Outside his laboratory, Keth soldiers were getting closer. He could hear their clicking voices and the sound of their weapons charging. Transfer at 60%, the computer announced. Through the window, Teho could see Elder floating near the station. The massive creature's eyes were glowing bright blue, and Teho knew Elder could sense his pain and fear. Computer, activate biocommunication array. Send crystal, data to Void Mammoth designated Elder. Connection established, the computer said. Teho felt his mind touch Elder's ancient consciousness. For a moment, human and Mammoth shared the same thoughts. Elder understood everything. The sacrifice, the love, the desperate hope that somehow this would help save humanity. The laboratory door exploded inward. 3 Keth soldiers entered, their insect-like faces hidden behind metal masks. They raised their weapons. Transfer at 85%, the computer said. Tejo smiled as he looked at the soldiers. Too late, he whispered. The weapons fired. Tejo fell to the floor, but his consciousness was already flowing into the crystal. Elder felt the human's death and carefully took the crystal with a tendril of bioelectric energy. As Gamma Station died around them, Elder and his herd began to move away from the battle. The massive creature carried Tejo's crystal deep inside his body, where it would be safe and could slowly merge with Elder's own mind. 40 years passed. Elder wandered through the galaxy like a living ship carrying precious cargo. The crystal had grown and changed during the long journey. Tejo's memories mixed with Elder's ancient wisdom. Sometimes Elder would remember being human, holding a small child, loving a woman with bright eyes. Sometimes Tejo's consciousness would surface and remember being a creature of space and starlight. During these 40 years, the galaxy had changed. The Keth Empire had grown stronger and crueler. They had captured thousands of humans and taken them to prison worlds for experiments. The Keth scientists had learned that human minds were different from other species. Humans could adapt and bond with alien creatures in ways that seemed impossible. On a hidden world called Haven Base, a woman sat in a war room studying battle plans. She called herself Lee Jinny now, but she had been born with a different name. Hana Kim had grown up to become one of humanity's greatest military leaders. Jinny was no longer the small child who had pressed her nose against the window of Gamma Station. She was tall and strong, with scars on her hands from years of fighting. Her eyes were hard but still held the kindness she had learned from her parents. "Commander Lee, we have reports from the Tau sector," said Captain Nam Gite, her second in command. "Another Keth research facility has been found." Jinny looked at the holographic display showing the Keth base. Inside that facility were hundreds of human prisoners, including children. Her heart hurt thinking about what those children were going through. "How many ships do they have guarding it?" Jinny asked. 12 warships plus ground defenses. Too many for a direct attack. Jinny had been leading rescue missions for 20 years. She had saved thousands of humans from Keth prisons, but there were always more. The enemy seemed to have unlimited resources and no mercy. "There are reports of something else, Commander," Captain Nam said quietly. "Some of the rescued prisoners tell strange stories." "What kind of stories?" "They say that during the worst battles, when human forces were about to be destroyed, a massive creature would appear. A creature that somehow knew exactly how to help." Jinny felt something stir in her heart. "What kind of creature?" "They describe it as larger than a battleship, with gray skin and glowing blue patterns. It appears during space battles and somehow disrupts Keth technology. The creature seems to know human tactics and always arrives at the perfect moment." Jinny turned away from the display. In her private moments, she still remembered her father's voice telling her stories about the friendly Mammoth that watched over their station. Could it be possible? "Commander, there is more," Captain Nam continued. "Intelligence reports that this creature has been seen across the galaxy over the past 40 years, always helping humans, always appearing when hope seems lost." Jinny closed her eyes and tried to remember her father's face. She had been so young when she escaped from Gamma Station. Sometimes she wondered if her memories were real or just dreams created by a frightened child. On the other side of the galaxy, Elder drifted past a dying star. Inside his massive body, the crystal pulsed with soft light. Tejo's consciousness was fully awake now, sharing Elder's ancient memories while keeping his human heart. Through Elder's senses, Tejo could feel the pain of every human prisoner in Keth hands. He felt their fear, their hope, their desperate need for rescue. The hybrid consciousness had spent decades learning about Keth technology and tactics, preparing for the day when he could truly help. "Soon, my daughter," Tejo whispered through Elder's mind. "Soon we will be strong enough to find you." Elder began to change course, heading toward the core worlds where the final battle for humanity's freedom would soon begin. The crystal in his body glowed brighter, and across the galaxy, sensitive humans felt a strange sense of hope, as if someone who loved them was coming home. In her command center, Jinny suddenly looked up at the stars visible through the window. For just a moment she could have sworn she heard her father's voice calling her name. She shook her head and returned to her work, not knowing that her father was indeed coming for her, carried by a mammoth who had wandered the galaxy for 40 years waiting for this moment. Commander Lee Jin-ae stood on the bridge of New Seoul, humanity's last great stronghold. The massive city ship held 5 million human refugees and served as the center of resistance against the Keth Empire. Through the main viewing screen, she could see the largest Keth fleet ever assembled approaching their position. Admiral Cho, they have over 300 ships, reported Communications Officer Park Min-soo. Our scouts count at least 50 dreadnoughts. Admiral Cho Dong-soo, the graying leader of humanity's military forces, nodded grimly. How long until they reach us? 6 hours, sir. Jin-ae watched the enemy fleet grow larger on the screen. This was it. The final battle that would decide whether humanity survived or became slaves to the Keth Empire. She thought about all the people counting on them, all the children who deserved to grow up free. Sir, we are receiving a priority message from Dr. Yoon Min-ho in the science section, Park Min-soo said. Dr. Yoon appeared on the communication screen. He looked excited and worried at the same time. Admiral, Commander, you need to see this. Our deep space sensors are picking up something massive approaching from the outer system. Another Keth fleet? Admiral Cho asked. No, sir. It is a single contact, but it is huge. Larger than anything we have ever seen. Jin-ae felt her heart skip a beat. How large? Preliminary scans suggest it is over 10 kilometers long. It is moving toward the battle zone at incredible speed. Jin-ae closed her eyes for a moment. Could it really be the creature from the stories? The mammoth that had helped humans across the galaxy? Sir, the contact is slowing down, Park Min-soo reported. It is taking position between us and the Keth fleet. On the main screen, a shape emerged from the darkness of space. It was Elder, but he had grown even larger during his 40 years of wandering. His gray skin was covered in scars from countless battles, and the blue patterns on his hide glowed with intense light. What is that thing? Admiral Cho whispered. Ginny stepped forward. I think it is here to help us. Elder floated in space like a living mountain. Inside his massive body, the crystal containing Taeho's consciousness pulsed with energy. For 40 years, Father and Mammoth had prepared for this moment. It is time, old friend. Taeho's voice echoed through Elder's mind. Let me speak to my daughter. Elder opened channels in his bioelectric field and connected to New Seoul's communication systems. Across the city ship, speakers crackled to life. This is Dr. Kim Taeho of Gamma Station. Can anyone hear me? Jin-ae gasped and grabbed the communication console. Father, is that really you? Hello, my little star. You have grown up to be everything I hoped you would become. Tears ran down Jin-ae's face. Around the bridge, officers stared in amazement as father and daughter spoke across the void of space. How is this possible? Jin-ae asked. You died 40 years ago. Death could not stop a father's love for his child. My consciousness merged with our friend here, the mammoth you knew as Elder. We have been preparing for this day, gathering knowledge and growing strong. Admiral Cho stepped forward. Dr. Kim, we are honored to have you with us, but we face impossible odds. The Keth have us outnumbered 10-1. Taeho's laugh echoed through the ship's speakers. Admiral, I have spent 40 years studying the Keth. I know their weaknesses, their tactics, their fears, and Elder has abilities they have never encountered. What kind of abilities? Dr. Yoon asked over the communication system. Elder can generate electromagnetic pulses that will disable Keth technology. He can also create temporary wormholes for tactical movement. Most importantly, he can establish direct communication links between all human ships, allowing perfect coordination. On the bridge of the lead Keth warship, General Vex Thak studied the massive creature blocking his path to New Seoul. The Keth commander had conquered dozens of worlds, but he had never seen anything like this. Analysis of the creature, Vex Thak ordered. Unknown biological entity, sir. Our sensors cannot penetrate its bioelectric field. It appears to be some kind of space-dwelling life form. Can our weapons destroy it? Unknown, sir. Recommend caution. General Vex Thak's mandibles clicked with anger. He had not brought the largest Keth fleet in history to be stopped by a single creature. All ships open fire on the creature, destroy it, and then take the human city. 300 Keth ships open fire at once. Energy beams and missile strikes hit Elder's massive form, but the attack seemed to have no effect. The Mammoth's bioelectric field absorbed the energy and grew brighter. "Now, Elder," Tejo said. Elder released all the stored energy in a massive electromagnetic pulse. The wave of power swept through the Keith fleet, shutting down engines, weapons, and life support systems. Half the enemy ships went dark and began drifting helplessly. "All human ships, this is Dr. Kim," Tejo's voice said over the communication network. "I am linking your tactical systems. You will fight as one mind with one purpose." Ginny felt a strange sensation as her mind connected with every other human pilot and gunner in the fleet. She could sense their thoughts, their determination, their love for the people they protected. "Attack formation Delta 7, Ginny ordered, and every ship moved with perfect precision. The human fleet struck the confused Keth forces like a sword of light. Ships that had fought alone for decades now moved together like dancers, each captain knowing exactly what the others would do. Elder swam through the battle like he was born for war. His massive fins created gravitational waves that sent Keth ships spinning out of control. When enemy vessels tried to flee, Elder opened small wormholes that allowed human fighters to appear behind them. "This is impossible," General Vexthak snarled as his flagship shook under human attacks. "How are they coordinating so perfectly?" "Sir, we are detecting some kind of psychic network connecting all human forces. The creature seems to be amplifying their natural abilities." Ginny's fighter squadron swept through a group of Keth destroyers. She could feel her pilot's thoughts merged with her own. They flew with the skill of veterans who had trained together for years, even though some had never met before this battle. "Father, how is this possible?" Ginny asked through her ship's communication system. "Humans have always had the ability to form deep bonds with other species," Tejo explained. "The Keth have been trying to understand this for decades. Elder, and I have learned to amplify this gift. We are showing you what humanity can become when it truly works together." The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Keth fleet, designed for overwhelming individual targets, could not handle the perfect coordination of the human forces. Ship after ship was destroyed or disabled. General Vexthak watched his dreams of conquest die as his flagship's shields failed. "Retreat," he ordered. "All ships, retreat." The surviving Keth vessels fled into hyperspace, leaving behind the wreckage of the largest invasion fleet they had ever assembled. On New Sol, celebrations erupted throughout the city. People danced in the streets and wept with joy. After decades of running and hiding, humanity had won a real victory. Ginny docked her fighter and ran to the communication center. "Father, we did it. We actually won." "Yes, my daughter, but this is only the beginning. The Keth will return with even larger fleets. We need to be ready for the final war." "What do you mean?" Tejo's voice was sad but determined. "I have learned something during my long journey. To truly defeat the Keth and free all the enslaved species in the galaxy, I must make one more sacrifice. But first, let me hold my little girl one more time." 3 days after the great victory, Ginny stood in the special chamber that Dr. Yoon Min-ho had built inside New Sol. The room was filled with strange machines that hummed with energy. In the center was a chair connected to dozens of cables and sensors. "The technology is based on your father's research," Dr. Yoon explained to Ginny. "We call them harmony nodes. They can create permanent connections between human minds and willing alien species." Ginny looked at the chair with worry. "Is it safe?" "We have tested it with volunteers. The connection allows perfect communication and shared abilities. A human pilot connected to a void mammoth calf can fly through space without a ship. An engineer bonded with a crystal being can build machines with just their thoughts." Elder floated outside the station, close enough that his bioelectric field could reach the chamber. Through the speakers, Tejo's voice filled the room. "The Harmony Network is humanity's future," Tejo said. but it requires enormous energy to work across the entire galaxy. Energy that can only come from one source. Jin'ei knew what her father meant, and her heart felt heavy. You have to merge completely with Elder, don't you? Yes, my daughter. If I become one with Elder forever, we can power a network that connects every free species in the galaxy. Humans, void mammoths, crystal beings, energy creatures, all the species the Keth have enslaved can work together. But you will lose yourself, Jin'ei said with tears in her eyes. I just found you again. I cannot lose you forever. Dr. Yoon stepped forward. Commander, we have another problem. Our scouts report that the Keth are building something in their home system, something that could destroy the human spirit itself. What do you mean? Jin'ei asked. They call it the despair virus. It is a digital plague that attacks the part of the mind that creates hope and love. Once infected, a person becomes empty inside, unable to feel joy or connection to others. Taeho's voice grew urgent. I have seen their plans through captured Keth data files. They intend to spread this virus through every human ship and station. It will turn our greatest strength, our ability to bond and love, into weakness. Jin'ei sat down heavily in a chair. The weight of command felt crushing. How long do we have? The virus will be ready in 6 weeks, Dr. Yoon said, but we have a volunteer for the first Harmony node test. Lieutenant Jang Soo-bin stepped forward. She was a young pilot who had lost her entire family to Keth raiders. Commander, I want to try the connection. One of Elder's children is willing to bond with me. Through the window, Jin'ei could see a smaller void mammoth floating near Elder. It was only the size of a large building, young by mammoth standards with bright silver patterns on its hide. Are you sure about this, Lieutenant? Jin'ei asked. Yes, Commander. If it can help us win this war, I will take any risk. Lieutenant Jang sat in the chair as Dr. Yoon and his team prepared the machines. Engineer Park Kyung-min monitored the energy levels while other scientists watched the biological readings. Beginning connection protocol, Dr. Yoon announced. The machines hummed louder as they reached out to the young mammoth's mind. Lieutenant Jang closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Suddenly her eyes snapped open, but they were glowing with the same silver light as the mammoth outside. I can feel everything, Lieutenant Jang whispered. The mammoth's memories. Its thoughts, the songs of its family. It is beautiful. How do you feel physically? Dr. Yoon asked. Lieutenant Jang stood up from the chair, but she moved differently now. She seemed to float slightly above the ground, her body surrounded by a faint, silver glow. I feel strong, connected, like I am part of something much larger than myself. The young mammoth outside began to sing, and Lieutenant Jang sang with it in perfect harmony. The sound was unlike anything the humans had ever heard, beautiful and haunting. The connection is stable, Engineer Park reported. Brainwave patterns show complete synchronization between human and mammoth consciousness. Over the following weeks, more volunteers joined the Harmony Network. Human soldiers connected with crystal beings became living shields that could absorb energy weapons. Scientists bonded with energy creatures could solve problems faster than any computer. Pilots linked with young mammoths could travel through space at incredible speeds, but as the network grew, it required more and more power to maintain. Taeho's consciousness began to fade as he struggled to keep all the connections stable. Father, you are getting weaker, Jin'ei said during one of their daily conversations. The network needs more energy than I can provide alone, Taeho admitted. To make it strong enough to resist the despair virus and connect species across the galaxy, I must give everything I have. There has to be another way, Jin'ei insisted. My daughter, I have lived 40 years longer than I should have. I have seen you grow into a leader who gives hope to millions. I have helped humanity win battles that seemed impossible. Now I can give the greatest gift a father can give, a future where his child will be safe and free. Alarms suddenly began ringing throughout New Seoul. Communications Officer Park Min-soo's voice echoed through the ship. All stations, priority alert. Long-range sensors detect massive Keith fleet approaching. Over 1,000 ships, including their new super dreadnoughts. Estimated arrival in 72 hours. Admiral Cho's voice followed immediately. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. The final battle for humanity's survival is about to begin. Jinny ran to the bridge where chaos filled the command center. Officers worked frantically at their stations as reports flooded in from across human space. "Admiral, it gets worse," Dr. Yoon reported over the communication system. "We are detecting the despair virus transmitters on their lead ships. They plan to broadcast the virus during the battle." "How long can our people resist it?" Admiral Cho asked. "Without the full Harmony network, maybe an hour before we lose the will to fight." Jinny looked out at Elder floating near the station. Through the bioelectric connection, she could feel her father preparing for his final sacrifice. "Father, if you do this, will we win?" Taeho's voice was quiet but certain. "The network will connect every free species in the galaxy. Together, you will have the strength to defeat the Keth and free all their prisoners. But I will not be able to speak with you anymore. I will become part of something larger." "Will you still be you?" "I will be love itself, my daughter. Every time someone shows kindness to a stranger, every time a parent protects their child, every time different species choose to work together instead of fight, I will be there. I will live in every act of hope and courage across the galaxy." Jinny closed her eyes and felt the tears run down her face. "I understand, Father. Do what you must do. I love you, Hana. I have always loved you and I always will." Outside knew. Seoul, Elder began to glow brighter than ever before as Taeho prepared to merge completely with the ancient creature, knowing that his sacrifice would light a flame of hope that would burn across the galaxy forever. Jinny stood on the bridge of New Seoul as the largest Keth fleet in history approached. 1,000 enemy ships filled the darkness of space like angry stars. At their center was the Keith Emperor's personal flagship, a massive vessel carrying the despair virus transmitters that could destroy the human spirit. "All ships report ready for battle," Admiral Cho announced. "Human forces number 200 vessels." The odds were 5-1 against humanity, but Jinny felt something different. This time, through the growing Harmony network, she could sense thousands of allied minds preparing for the final fight. Elder floated between the two fleets, his massive form glowing brighter than ever before. Inside his ancient body, Taeho's consciousness, prepared for the ultimate sacrifice. "My daughter, are you ready?" Taeho's voice whispered through the communication system. "I am ready, Father," Jinny replied, though her heart was breaking. "Then let us light the galaxy with hope." Elder's entire body erupted in brilliant blue light. The energy spread outward like ripples on a cosmic pond, reaching across space to touch every willing mind in the galaxy. Jinny felt her father's consciousness expand beyond anything human or mammoth, becoming something greater than both. Across the galaxy, the Harmony network came alive. On distant worlds, crystal beings felt the call and reached out with their minds. In deep space, energy creatures joined the network and added their power. On prison planets, enslaved species felt hope return to their hearts for the first time in decades. Jinny gasped as thousands of alien minds connected to hers. She could feel the thoughts of a crystal warrior on the planet Nexus, a energy being near the galactic core, a young mammoth in the outer rim. All of them united by her father's sacrifice. "This is impossible," General Vexthak snarled from his command ship. "How are they coordinating across the entire galaxy?" "Sir, we are detecting massive psychic energies emanating from the creature. It appears to be amplifying some kind of telepathic network. Activate the despair virus transmitters. Crush their spirits before they can use this network against us." The Keth flagship began broadcasting the digital plague that attacked hope and love. The virus spread through space toward the human fleet, ready to turn humanity's greatest strength into weakness. But when the virus reached the Harmony network, something unexpected happened. Instead of destroying human emotions, it was absorbed and transformed by the combined will of thousands of species working together. "The virus has no effect," Dr. Yoon reported from his station. "The network is too strong. It is turning their weapon into pure energy." Elder began to move toward the Keth fleet, and Jinny realized her father was no longer speaking as an individual. His voice came from everywhere at once, carried by every connected mind in the galaxy. "Keth Empire, you have enslaved the innocent and caused suffering across the stars. Today, the free peoples of the galaxy say no more. The final battle began unlike any conflict in galactic history. Human ships moved with perfect coordination, but they were not alone. Crystal beings appeared from nowhere, their bodies reflecting. Laser fire back at Keth vessels. Energy creatures materialized inside enemy ships, disrupting their systems from within. Lieutenant Jiang Subin, still connected to her Mammoth partner, flew her fighter through impossible maneuvers. She could sense enemy movements before they happened, dodge attacks that should have been unavoidable, and strike with precision that seemed supernatural. "This is Lieutenant Jiang to all human pilots," she called over the network. "Feel the connection. Trust your alien partners. Fight as one mind with one heart." Across the battle, human pilots bonded with their alien allies, performed miracles. Ships that should have been destroyed danced through enemy fire. Weapons that should have missed found their targets with perfect accuracy. Elder swam through the center of the Keth fleet like a force of nature. His massive fins created gravitational waves that crushed enemy vessels. When Keth ships tried to retreat, wormholes opened around them, piloted by mammoth human teams working in perfect harmony. "All ships, concentrate fire on the creature," General Vexthak ordered. "Destroy it and the network will collapse." 500 Keth ships focused their weapons on Elder. The massive creature's hide burned under the incredible assault, but he did not stop. Instead, he began to sing, and his song was carried across the galaxy by every connected mind. The song told the story of love that transcended death, of a father who became a star to protect his child, of hope that could survive any darkness. As the song spread, more species joined the network. Even some Keth soldiers began to question their empire's cruelty. "Sir, we are losing ships faster than we can count them," a Keth officer reported. "Our forces are confused and demoralized. Some of our own people are refusing to fight." General Vexthak watched his mighty fleet crumble before the united forces of the galaxy. This was not how conquests were supposed to work. Individual species were meant to fall before Keth superiority, not unite against them. "Retreat," he finally ordered. "All ships, emergency jump to hyperspace." But it was too late. The Harmony network had spread too far and grown too strong. As Keth ships tried to flee, they found their escape routes blocked by allies they never knew existed. Crystal beings had surrounded their home worlds. Energy creatures had infiltrated their command centers. Even their own enslaved species were rising in rebellion. The Keth Empire, which had ruled through fear and division for centuries, crumbled in a single day before the united will of the galaxy's free peoples. On New Sol, celebrations erupted as news of victory spread. Jin'ei stood quietly on the observation deck looking out at Elder. The massive creature was still glowing, but the light was different now, gentler and more peaceful. "Father, can you hear me?" she whispered. Elder's voice came back, but it was changed. It was her father's love mixed with ancient wisdom and the hopes of countless species. "I am here, my daughter. I am in every act of kindness, every moment of courage, every choice to help instead of harm. I am the love that connects all living things." Years passed. Jin'ei became Admiral Jin'ei, then President Jin'ei of the Harmony Coalition, a galactic government based on cooperation instead of conquest. She married Captain Namgitai and had 3 children of her own. Every night she would tell her children the story of their grandfather who loved his daughter so much that he became a constellation to protect her. She taught them that love was stronger than death, that hope could overcome any darkness, and that sometimes the greatest gift a parent could give was the chance for their children to live free. Elder continued to wander the galaxy, but now he was not alone. Hundreds of species traveled with him, learning from his wisdom and sharing in the network of love and understanding that Taiho had created with his sacrifice. When new worlds faced danger, when young species needed guidance, when hope seemed lost, Elder would appear. Children across the galaxy would point to the sky and say, "Look, the Mammoth is coming. Everything will be okay." And in the gentle glow of Elder's passage, they could feel the love of a father who had kept his promise to protect not just his own child but all the children of the galaxy, forever and always.